Welcome to the Courage Barbell Unlimited podcast with your host, legendary powerlifter and strength athlete, Chad Ikes. For most, the journey of strength starts in the gym, but should inevitably expand through all aspects of life. Join us as we discuss all things strength. Now, here's your host, Chad Ikes.
All right, today I'm going to talk about a little bit of a different subject, and I'm kind of shooting off the hip here. It's a little later at night, but I actually feel pretty good today for some reason. While I was out shoveling, I was listening to a Joe Rogan podcast with a journalist, Abigail Shrier, and it was a podcast on like Gen Z anxiety problems. And I guess she's author and wrote a book and consulted a bunch of therapists and stuff. And it's just a subject that to me is very close to my heart. It's something I think about a lot in a couple of different ways, which I'll explain. Basically, she was saying that with her research, doing studies on depression and anxiety, these younger people are just, they're not tough enough. And their anxiety and their depression isn't really anxiety and depression as much as it is, listen, this is just part of life. And as most of you know, I've dealt with depression and suicide, and I've been very open with my struggles with that, trying to help people and just more or less just let people know that there are other people going through this. And like I achieved a super high level in powerlifting. You know, I'm still out here. I don't miss work. Now I work for myself. I don't cancel on clients. I get behind sometimes on my podcast and YouTube, but I do a pretty good job of staying up with it and getting my health, my mental health better and better and better as I go on. I see it as how do I explain this? There is a point where, yeah, toughen up, like just deal with it. And there's also a point where like, hey, something's going on. You should probably seek some help. And I feel like what has happened is we've went way too far to the, seek help phase, and not enough to the, hey, man, like life's tough. And you need to build resilience. And you build resilience by going through tough times. So the difference I see there is kind of like a clinical depression where something is actually chemically wrong in your brain. And it's something that you don't, just getting up and going and doing stuff isn't going to make it better. And I'm fortunate that I've been through this whole spectrum. Okay, I've been where you break up in a relationship and you feel like crap. I've been where you're just kind of bored with life and you feel like crap, or you hate your job and you feel like crap. I've been there. And those are times where, yes, toughen the hell up, man. Shit happens. And I've also been to where it's clinically depressed, where I'm doing everything I can just to not commit suicide, to not kill myself, because the urges and this shit in my brain is becoming so strong I'm having trouble fighting it. Luckily, I was able to keep fighting it and have learned now to never go to that area. Like I know when it's getting bad and I know what my triggers are, and I pull back and I change things around to make sure I don't go there anymore. So I think there is a point where, yeah, okay, this isn't just about being tough anymore. This is about you seeking actual help. At the same point, those are the times you need to be the toughest. Say, for instance, you caved to everything in life. And I've heard a lot of bosses recently, and this lady mentioned it too, with one of the teachers she was talking to, and the kids are like, I need a mental health day. And it's like, what do you mean? What the hell is a mental health day? What do you need a mental health day for? Like, what good is that even going to do you? we need to toughen up past that, and we need to build resilience so that if it does go to something bad, like for me at my bad times, the reason I was able to hang on and keep pushing through it is because I've dealt with a lot of bad shit in my life. I had dealt with mild depression. I had dealt with different levels of depression. I had dealt with, growing up poor and then growing up middle class. And then no sport I ever did was easy. Like I had to work my ass off to get average. Even in powerlifting, it wasn't easy. Like strength didn't come easy to me. It was really hard. It took a lot of time and a lot of work. Like I was used to that. I was used to working hard physical labor jobs. So even at my worst, even if it was clinical depression, I had the toughness to go, man, you got to keep fighting this, Chad. I don't care how bad it gets. You got to keep fighting this. Like when you quit, that's when it's over. As long as you're still fighting, you have a chance. But that's a tough thing too when you're in that spot, because the darkness just completely consumes you and you actually end up feeling like, okay, this is it. Like I'm never going to come out of it. This is the time where it just lasts forever. And do I want to try to live another 50 or 60 years like this? Again, you got to fight it though. You got to have that resilience to go, wait a minute, these are feelings, these are emotions. Logically, I'm going to get through this. How though? And then you work on it. Now, I think this plays into fitness, strength, sports. None of these things come easy, at least not to most people. There are a few gifted athletes where things come easier, but then they don't learn the lessons that we learn when it's tough for us. But you see people, and wow, I can't lose weight. I wish I was skinny. No bullshit. Everybody can lose weight. Everybody can get in shape. Yes, it's harder for some and it's easier for others, but that's irrelevant. You shouldn't be worrying about what it is to other people. You should be worrying about what it is to you. You can get to the same place everyone else can. You just have to take a different path there. And I run into a similar thing with training in that I talk a lot about focusing on recovery, making sure you're getting the recovery. I talk about training less than what most people do. And this again is a slippery slope, because most people that train don't see results because they don't train hard enough. They don't train with intensity. They don't train enough. They don't train with intent. They don't learn their technique. And then there's a lot of people that might train probably hard enough, but they don't focus on their recovery. And those are people that, like, you need to focus. Your training's fine, but you need to focus on your recovery. And then there's this aggressive level that I tend to communicate with and think about, where they do too much. And they're worried about the recovery, but they're just training so much, there's no way that their body can keep up. And these are like the athletes that are pretty high level, but haven't made it to the highest level. And as soon as they back off a little bit, put a little more focus into their recovery, they start making these huge gains. But these are the people that train aggressively and train very heavy and very hard and have worked on their technique and know how to push their bodies. So when I train people in person and when I train people online, I always try to communicate that, listen, this is an evolution and it's going to happen over time. So don't get so set on what we're doing right now that that's always what you're going to do. It's going to have to keep changing. And that's one area where I try to train my people so that I want them to understand. I want them to be invested in their training. But at the same time, they need to understand that, like, my knowledge is just not what I'm giving you now. My knowledge is going to be to help you with all these roadblocks and stuff that are going to come up over time. Where you go, hey, I did this to bench 500 pounds. Okay, well, what's next? It's not going to be the same thing that got you to 500. Things are going to start changing. And as you age, things are going to start changing. If you get bigger, things are going to start changing. If you get smaller, things are going to start changing, like if you gain or drop a lot of weight. And I think this also kind of boils down to mentality, which I tend to talk a lot about because I think all the best athletes in the world, the most successful businessmen, they all have this super strong belief in themselves and this mentality that no matter what comes up, they can make it through it. And that's the resilience that comes from struggle. How a lifter goes, you know what? I don't care. I don't care if anyone's ever done it before. I can do it. And I know I can do it. And I'm going to figure out how to do it. That's that resilience. That's the same person who, take myself, for example, there's people that have narcolepsy as bad as me, some not even as bad as me. And they go on disability and they sit in their low-income housing and play video games all day and don't really accomplish anything with their life. That wasn't me. I didn't want to do that. That wasn't even an option. Even though I've paid all my dues and I've paid everything in, I'm still fighting. Yeah, I'm tired. Yeah, I'm exhausted a lot. But I keep pushing. And I try to, when I started my business, I'm like, hey, I can change my schedule a little bit to find better times that I sleep and try to work on this. And when my sleep gets really bad, I can adapt my training to that. And like I found ways around it. I became one of the best powerlifters in the world while getting completely shitty sleep and no deep sleep, little to no deep sleep. There was even a time when I was at my strongest where I was awake for 2 to 3 days. That was normal. Get one night a week where I get maybe 3 hours with no deep sleep and keep functioning and keep training. And I never missed work. And sometimes I didn't feel like I lived up to my potential, but I always seemed to be doing as good, if not better than everyone else and accomplishing more at work. Definitely with my training. And again, that's that resilience. And I think that part of that came from growing up blue collar and my parents expecting me to work around the house, to do the jobs, to have my chores. I would go help my dad at work sometimes. And I remember one time he did a house with one of his buddies and it was like, hey, this is a family thing. Like you got to come pitch in. You got to clean up the house and get ready to sell and do this and do that. And there wasn't any, oh, poor Chad, you're tired, or, oh, you need a mental health day today. It was like, no, you got to go. Like bills got to be paid. Things have to be done, period. Like the world is not going to take care of you. So I think this is a super important topic, but I think we need to dig a little deeper. Because I don't want to say, don't be a bitch, just deal with it. When it actually is something clinical and you can deal with it, but it's never going to get better. Like you can, I don't mean deal with it. Like if it's really bad and it's really clinical, first of all, you could end up committing suicide. Second of all, you could get stuck. If you're just dealing with it, but never getting better, you're not making progress. You're staying in this hole. And there's a point where you do need to get better. You need to get better. You need to figure out what's going on. But then on the flip side, there's a lot of people who are, I'm depressed. I can't do this. I can't do that. And then they just sit around the house and they don't do shit. When really all they need to do is get up and go out and do something. And that alone is going to help them feel better. Because first of all, getting up and going out and doing something physical is very good for depression. It's going to be good for your mind. You go out for a walk, you hike, you get in nature, you're going to feel better. If you go, listen, and I can't just sit around, like I got to get a hobby or I got to get something. And maybe you start meeting some other people. Maybe you find a hobby and you're like, hey, I actually really enjoy this. And now you have something to live for. You have something to motivate you. and you start feeling better again. Like, we can feel depression. To me, it's just really, it's either clinical depression or you're just fucking sad. So you can feel really, really sad and really, really bad, but just get out and go do something and you feel better. I mean, even with my exhaustion, there's a point where my exhaustion is so horrendous that I really need to try and not do anything for the day. I need to like lay around and be lazy and do nothing. And most people need days like that anyway. So it's not even, my sleep isn't this huge, horrible thing. I live like everyone else. I just have it a little harder right here. And the same thing with depression. Most people feel sad. Most people get down. Mine's just more extreme. But if you get up and you move, you feel better. And then you kind of learn that, hey, me sitting around a house, especially if I'm feeling sorry for myself, isn't helping anything. It's in fact making it worse. And all you're doing is sitting in your hole, not even trying to dig your way out. Get up, find something you enjoy. Go to the gym. Find people at the gym you can talk to and that you like. Get out of your house. Open up the goddamn windows and get some fresh air. And I think especially with young people right now, and this is, I think in our society, we promote this really bad with everybody gets a trophy, everybody's special. Yeah, I think deep down every human being is special in their own way. I think every human being has greatness inside of them. But if we keep telling people they're great when they didn't do anything great, if we tell them they're special when they didn't do anything special, then they're never going to dig and fight to pull that out of themselves. Yeah, you're special. There's something special inside you. Go figure out what it is, work for it, dig for it, and pull it out of yourself. And then show everybody. But you just standing there isn't showing me anything special. And I think this is something we need to start portraying, teaching, coaching, however you want to say it, to the younger generations. And to a lot of people, I mean, now I'm getting to where I meet middle-aged people that are kind of like this. They just have no drive and they have no focus. And they just want everything. They just expect everything. Well, I shouldn't have to work 40 hours a week. I shouldn't have to pay for school. I shouldn't have to do this. Well, I shouldn't have to work that hard to get skinny. Well, I shouldn't have to work that hard to get strong. That guy's strong. And they don't even bother to look at the story behind what those people took. And this is because we raise these people to be this way. If somebody's great, one of the reasons I got as good at powerlifting as I did was because when I looked at somebody good, I never once thought, oh, that fucker, he's fucking got strong. He's just genetics. I went, holy shit, that's awesome. That dude's strong. I wonder how he got there. I wonder what he did. And then I started looking into it and I started reading about him. Eventually I'd get to meet them and go, hey, where did you start? Where did you come from? Like, how long have you been doing this? And find out how they trained along that journey and the things they changed. Just assuming somebody has it is crap. Like, if you really want to try to compare yourself to somebody, at least compare with the truth. Don't compare your false feelings. And it's the same thing with training and with coaching people. Well, so-and-so eats this. I don't care what they eat. What do you need to eat? I'm worried about making you good. I'm worried about leading you down the path to reach your goals. You can look at other people to get ideas, but in the end, you got to come back to yourself. And this drive and this power has got to come from within you because you need to build that resilience in yourself. And our whole bodies are made to work that way. You can't just go into the gym and start lifting heavy. You need to take the time to build that resilience into your ligaments, into your tendons, into your bone. And the more you stress those things, the more you put them through a little bit at a time, the stronger they get to where they can handle it. You don't get strong. You don't train once and then you're strong. Like, your muscles have to build, and they can only build upon themselves at such a rate. If you took 15 years to weigh 400 pounds, you're not going to get down to 200 pounds in a month. took you 15 years. It's going to take you years to get back down to a good, healthy weight if you do it right. And that's taking the time to reverse what you went through. And again, with each little step, that's going to build that resilience in you to keep pushing, to keep getting closer to your goal. So we need the physical resilience in our body. We need the mental resilience in our body. And that mental resilience, it's basically strength. It's the ability to go, okay, this is going to take some time. This is going to take some work. This is going to take some dedication. And I'm okay with that. It's knowing that the best things come when you work for them, which is another area where I think, going back to sports, I don't think young kids understand what it's like to really, really work for something and then achieve it. They've been handed everything in their life. They've never had to work for anything. So if you stop and think about it, you go, no wonder they live in their basement. No wonder they're bitching about paying for their school. No wonder they think they should make $150,000 or $200,000 a year their first year. They've been given everything. And they have no idea what it feels like to work for something and be successful. It's the Arnold weekend. And I have one of my young clients who just turned 13. So basically, in the 12-year-old age group, she was number one. This year, she's done one meet at 13, and I think in her weight class, she might have been 15th all time, which is still incredible. So she did her first competition at the Arnold, and I think it was a little bit much for her. It's the first time being on a stage that big, being around so many like really big lifters. And on this day, she was the only girl, which is kind of sucks. But it's just the way it works. So she didn't have the best meet. She didn't have the meet we planned for. I'm still proud of her. I'm still happy with what she did. She ended up missing her first two squats. She came back strong, got to third one. That's a big deal. A lot of people can fold after that. Her bench, we wanted to hit the all-time bench. She was shy of that. She only got her first attempt and missed her second two. Still, she came in, PR'd on the deadlift, ended up passing on her third, which I get because at that point, you're not going to PR total. So she still won her class because she was the only girl, I think, and at her age group. But still, there's other people that could have went and qualified. She showed up. Wasn't afraid to show up. And I think this might actually be one of the best things that could happen to her. Because she's an aggressive kid. I already know she's not happy about it. Which I'm glad. But this is going to build resilience. This is going to build in her and instill in her that, listen, even if things go wrong, I'm still here. I'm still going to do this. I'm going to finish this meet, and I'm going to do the damn best I can no matter what. And you know what? I'm going to learn from this. And my next meet, I'm going to do even better. And it's going to teach her being knocked down is not a bad thing. I actually think it's the best thing. In my powerlifting career, I had plenty of meets that didn't turn out like I wanted. I had plenty of meets I bombed. I had plenty of shitty meets. I had plenty of meets where I did dumb stuff, and I had to do that dumb stuff to learn. And then you go to 2007, where I tear my hamstring like 6 weeks before the Arnold Classic, which is the WPO World Championship. You know what? I still showed up. I put up a PR squat of 1173, which is the biggest or fourth highest squat in history. I barely got my 800 bench because I refused to lower my opener, and I did it with one leg. Still ended up pulling like 755 with favoring one leg really bad. Finished second. Like to say I finished first, but I didn't. Andy Bolton got me. I think my total was in the top 5 of all time. How could I have possibly done that without all the resilience that I had been through and built up and trained over the years, having all these things against me? It just made me tougher. It's like the saying, why do we fall down? So we learn to get back up. All those times of falling down, all those times of not hitting it makes you tougher and builds you up. And we need those. I understand that everybody wants the people they help. The parents want their children. We all want better for the people we love and care about. But sometimes getting everything isn't better. So yes, there's a big part of me I wish my client would have went to the Arnold and destroyed it and put up another huge total. But I'm thinking long term with her. She's so young and she has such a bright future. And I want her to last that whole time. I want her to be able to keep powerlifting until she's in her 60s if she wants to, and more than beyond that. I want her to be one of the top people in the world at some point if that's what she wants. And that's only going to happen if things like this happen, because she's going to learn the most from these things. And I'm really impressed with how she's handling it so far. We're, of course, going to try to talk about it a little more, but this is what needs to happen. And it reminds me sometimes of my parents when I would get in trouble and be told, this hurts me a lot more than it hurts you. And at the time you're beating my butt with a leather belt and I got tears in my eyes. You don't have any tears. Of course I didn't say that, but I sure wanted to. But now being on the flip side of that, I don't have kids, but I got nieces and nephews. I got clients. I got a lot of people I care about and how they do. And even when I ran my team, I wanted my guys to do better than I did. Sometimes you got to be tough and you got to go, no, this is what you got to do. I know it's going to be hard. I know it's going to be tough, but I also know you can do it. And I think we need to toughen up on ourselves. We need to toughen up on our society. We need to toughen up on the people we love. We need to build that resilience into ourselves and each other. Because the tide raises all ships. And I want to be the tide. I want to raise all ships. And basically this podcast, that's really all this podcast is about, is I just had all these things happen today, listening to that podcast, thinking about my girl at the Arnold, discussions I've had with clients recently, seeing some of my young kids. I have an emotional younger kid I train right now. And when we first started, I kind of had to be careful with how I pushed him. And over time, I ended up putting him with some other guys, some older guys, so he could kind of see how they would do. And those guys are really good at pumping him up and building him up. And I can kind of take the position of being a little harder on him. And he gets a little tougher each time. He pushes a little harder. He's to the point now where sometimes we'll do like a big failure set. And I'm like, all right, you can be done. He's like, no, I got 3 more. He didn't have that when he first started, and he's building it and he's getting better and better every day. And I want to build that resilience into him, that whatever he chooses to do later in life, he's going to have that resilience. Say he wants to start a business. Last time I looked, I think it was most people go through like 4 to 5 businesses before they find the one that works. That's tough. That takes a lot of tenacity. That takes a lot of perseverance. You got to be tough to go through that and do that and keep going and learn each time. So I want him to be successful no matter what he wants to do. I want to make him physically strong, but more than that, I want to make him resilient in his mind so that no matter what, he will find a way to be successful. So when you're training, when you're thinking about your nutrition throughout the day, when you got to stretch and you hate stretching, when you got to do your GPP work or mobility work, I want you to think about resilience. I want you to think about, okay, I don't really feel like doing this, but is it really about feeling like I want to do it? No, some things need to be done. This will make me better. And most of the time, once you get going, you're going to find it's not that bad anyway. I know there's a lot of times where I'm like, I don't want to stretch because I hate stretching, but I'm really flexible because I do. And I'm like, all right, just do it. Just get down and just get your stretching over with. And by the time I'm done, I'm like, glad I did that. I feel a whole lot better. And it's the same thing with the cardio. There's days where I don't want to do my cardio, but I do my cardio and I feel a lot better afterwards. And I'm a lot happier that I did it. And that I think that's kind of one of the things when you're feeling your depression. Get out and go do something. I don't care if you feel lazy. I don't care if you don't have any motivation. Find discipline and go do it because it's going to make you better. It's going to make you feel better. Sitting there is doing nothing for you. But granted, there are times, like I said, there's times where I go, I'm not leaving the house today, and I'm going to sit in my underwear and I'm going to watch movies and I'm going to eat what I want to eat. So there is time. There's these far extremes, but those are very few people. Most people are going to be in the middle of that. And if you do live in those extremes, you should know the difference. And so I think the best thing would be for most people to go, you know what? Yeah, I just need to get out and do something. And then over time, like for me, I still struggle sometimes with, okay, I'm really, really tired, but I think I should probably go for a hike today. I think I'm okay to go out and do it. And there's times where I'll go do it, and then the next day I'm like, oh yeah, that was bad. I shouldn't have done that. But that was an experience. That was a learning experience, and that's building my resilience. So the next time I go, hey, you remember just how you felt that exact time? So the next time that question pops in your head and you feel like that, you go, no, maybe today I should take that. I should not do anything today. And then how do I feel the next day? Oh, hey, I felt better the next day. Okay, stock that in my brain. I just gained another tool in my toolbox to figure all this shit out. Let me see here. This is about 30 minutes of me yapping on. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up with that right there. Build resilience. Whenever you don't want to do something, whenever you're feeling lazy and you know you should do it, whenever you're feeling like crap and you're just like, God, I just feel like crap. I'm just depressed and tired. Go fucking do something. Build your resilience. At the very least, build your resilience. And I'll bet you end up feeling better if you just go out and do it. That's it. I'm out.
Thanks for listening to the Courage Barbell Unlimited podcast. For more information, please visit couragebarbell.com. Until next time.